Hi guys, and welcome to another one of my everyday makeup drawers. This is where I go through usually every 3 to 4 weeks and shop my stash for new makeup, put it in here for the next month, use it all, and then come back and report on to you guys how the month went, what did I like, what did I not like, etc. This last month I had a theme for this drawer, and that was kind of pulling in products that I hadn't gotten a lot of use out of. So things that I had picked up, tried, reviewed, maybe played around with a little bit, but then they went into my makeup drawers and just hadn't gotten a lot of love yet. So that was kind of my thought process for how I pulled makeup last month, and that's what is in this drawer now. So similar to what I've done in past months, and I think this is what's going to actually end up working out the best for me. I am going to go through everything that's in this drawer now. We're going to talk about what's going to stay in here, what's going to go back into my collection. I'm going to give you reviews on the products that are sitting in here. And then in a second video, which will be the next one I post after this, we will actually shop my stash for new makeup. We'll talk about what the theme for that month's drawer is going to be, and we'll reload this with fun products for the next month. So I always get questions about what's on my nails, and I'm sure I will today as well. This is actually a discontinued formula. It was from Sephora collection back in the day when they did collabs with Pantone. It's just like an ancient formula, but I will say I've been using that formula super sparingly because I haven't seen that color anywhere else on the marketplace, and Kathleen Lights launched a shade for fall that looks super, super similar to this one. So I haven't bought that one yet because I would like to use up this bottle, but I haven't been using my bottle a lot because I was kind of just, I don't know, using it more sparingly. So I will link the KL Polish bottle below. So if you're interested in sort of a greeny shifting gold color like this, you can find one on her website. But without further ado, let's get into this month's Shop My Stash review. All right, let's start up here like we usually do. I had a host of concealers in here that I was trying out. So this little Revlon one always stays in here. So let's set this to the side. I was testing two concealers from two brands. So one is the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define in C1 and C3. And then the others were a Ulta Beauty liquid concealer in pink, which is a color corrector, and then another one in their full coverage liquid concealer, which is light cool. I do like the formulas of both of these. This is more of a traditional sort of high medium coverage creamy concealer. This one from Ulta is definitely a little bit more whipped feeling. In fact, let me see if I can get that on camera here so you can see what I'm talking about here. But it's a lot thicker of a texture than a lot of concealers. It's actually a really nice color. It blends out really well. It's not super drying, even though it is a whipped one. I have to admit, I don't think I love this pink color as a color corrector. I feel like I like color correctors that are a little thinner feeling, and this one's fairly thick underneath my eyes. So I just felt like the combination of the two of these was just too much creaminess, too much thickness underneath my eyes, but the color of this pink concealer was also really nice. So I also enjoyed the Makeup Revolution concealer. I definitely prefer the shade C3, which is a little bit darker. Swatch these for you here. So this is C3, which is more cool undertone leaning. I definitely still think it is a fair shade. C1 is just, I think, a little bit too light. I tend not to go super bright on my concealers, and this one in particular, I just feel like was just a little too light, a little too brightening. I prefer something that's closer to my skin tone. So I personally am going to keep C3, and I'm going to do my concealer declutter, but I see myself getting rid of C1, and I also see myself getting rid of this pink shade from Ulta and keeping the other two. I did use up my Maybelline Instant Age Rewind, so this guy's completely gone. I am in the shade Fair, so I'm going to put this in my empties bin. And then I was trying to use up my number 7 Radiant Glow concealer. I didn't feel like very much was left in here. I think I am like really close. I mean, this thing feels almost empty, so I feel like a couple more uses and this thing is going to be gone. So I actually think I am going to go ahead and leave this in here until it's gone. And then same thing with this guy. This is the L'Oreal Magic Lumi. If you can see there, I barely have any left. You can see it's already pushed up into the cap there. So I do think I'm going to continue to leave these two in here to just use them up. That stays in, as does my lip balm. I also am leaving in my Essence Make Me Brow. This is always in here. This Neutrogena Revitalizing Lip Balm is not supposed to be in here. Well, I usually keep this in my purse. I'm not sure how this made it into my everyday makeup drawer. It's just a really nice very sheer colored lip balm, and that usually lives in my purse, so that's going back. And then I'm going to continue to leave this in here. I'm not reaching for it a ton though, guys. This is the 3D Brow Tones. I feel like I'm going to leave this in here one more month. I'm going to use it by the end of next month. Whatever's left, I'm just going to chuck. I definitely prefer my Essence one over this. I was just trying to get some more use out of it. So one more month, and then I think that's going to be a chuck. For mascaras back here, I do feel like I'm still going strong with both of these. Probably one more month, and then I'm going to need to replace my CoverGirl one, and then probably pull in a new mascara. But this is the Tarte Tarteist mascara. I will say the older that this gets, the more I am liking it. It was very wet formula when I first got it. It has one of those spiky silicone wands, and I just feel like those kinds of formulas get better as they dry out with the silicone. So I'm going to keep that in here along with my Dr. Fixer primer mascara that I use from time to time. And then I think all of this stays in here as well. My Urban Decay primer potion, my 2 Physicians Formula eye booster pens, my Urban Decay Wet n Wild Ultimate Brow Highlighter for an inner rim, this Stila All Day Waterproof Liner. I am actually liking this. It has a really super fine tipped pen that really does work well for tiny little cat flicks. And I feel as long as this tip doesn't fray or dry out on me, I'm going to enjoy this one. So I'm going to keep this in here. I just typically find that those felt tip pens do not last as long or are as reliable for a longer period of time as the brush tip. That's just my opinion. And then the CoverGirl lid lockup, I'm going to keep this in here as well. I'm kind of just alternating back and forth between these 2 eye primers. I had a couple of primers back here. One that I love, this is the MAC Prep and Prime Natural Radiance Base. I had bought this, used it when I first got it as a recommendation from the MAC store, and I don't know, just didn't feel like I had a lot of experience with it. This is actually the shade Radiant Pink. I think they have Radiant Gold and maybe one other one. This is more of like a gel consistency. It's got a light pink tint to it. It doesn't have a lot of shimmer particles, so that natural radiant glow is actually coming more from just hydration than any sort of significant pearl, the way that you see in a lot of sort of illuminating primers. This feels amazingly comfortable on the skin. If I'm using a foundation that's been a little bit more dry, or my skin's just been feeling a little sallow or dull, I have been reaching for this and I really enjoy it. So definitely think this is significantly different than the strobe cream, and I would totally recommend it, especially if you've got drier skin. This one from Julep, I tried to use once and I'm just gonna have to chuck it at this point. It is separated in here no matter how much I shake it up. It's like, I don't know, it doesn't ever come back together, and every time I squeeze any bit of it out, it kind of like splurts and is completely separated. Don't know if you guys will be able to see that, but it's totally separated on my hand and super gross. So this has just gone off. I've got to chuck it. And then this Winky Lux Whipped Caviar Primer is a really strange consistency. It's almost like foam-like. I do think it is smoothing. I don't think it's necessarily as pore filling as other ones that I've tried, but unlike products like the Benefit Professional that have a tendency to ball up, this one definitely feels a little silkier on the skin, but I do think it kind of has a tendency to be similar to some of those other sort of more slippery silicone feeling products once it's blended out on the skin. I neither love nor hate this. I'm kind of apathetic about it, to be honest, after using it. We'll see if this makes it through my primer declutter. All right, so now we're looking at my face products. I had 3 foundations in here. One was the MAC Studio Water Weight SPF 15. This is in the shade NC 15. I actually really enjoy this. I think it gives me a really light medium coverage. It can be sheared out if I want something really light, but it's really skin-like. It's a really beautiful product, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of using that this month. I don't think this builds much to even medium, maybe medium, but from an everyday foundation perspective, I think it is just really lovely and skin-like. So I did enjoy that one quite a bit. The Clinique Beyond Perfecting is definitely one that I feel like you have to use a brush with. I don't say this often. I feel like most foundations I prefer with a beauty blender. And if not a beauty blender, usually my fingers. And then if not my fingers, I will try a brush. And this is just one that needs a brush. You need less product than you think. You need a brush. And when you do, you can get a nice thin layer across your skin that works. I am in the shade 0.5 Breeze. So I am able to make this product work but it's probably not my favorite in my collection. All right, guys, so I adjusted the lighting here. I just felt like I was getting weird shadows. I was having a hard time showing you any sort of swatches. So we're starting to talk about the Laura Mercier. This is their Silk Cream Moisturizing Foundation. I bought the shade Rose Ivory. I just felt like this looked a little dark on me, and I felt like it oxidized as well. So it was one that I definitely couldn't wear on its own. And although it looked very creamy when it first went on my skin, I also felt like it ended up looking really makeup-y the longer it was on my skin. So it was one I had to set with powder in order to get it to work. The shade was off, and then it just always looked heavy. It was really moisturizing, but it was just really thick and creamy too. So I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of this one. I'm getting ready to do my makeup declutter for foundation, and I just doubt this one's gonna make it through. All right, let's look at the bronzers I've picked here. So I had one from Anastasia. This is the shade Rosewood. It has a really nice sort of pinky rose undertone to it. I can see why she named it Rosewood. This one is actually really lovely. It's a matte bronzer, but it's a kind of a soft matte bronzer. I really did enjoy this one. And then the other one I had in here was a fully matte bronzer. This is the Take Home the Bronze from The Balm. This one I've used a ton. I think I probably used this one more even than the Anastasia one. And this one is a little bit more cool leaning, if you can see that there. So this one almost acts like contour slash bronzer, and this one's giving me that sort of nice rosy glow, which is how I quote unquote bronze naturally if I get some sun on my skin. So I did really enjoy those two products in my drawer. In terms of blushes, I definitely had quite a few in here. So I had this little Makeup Geek blush in Blind Date, just a nice sort of classic cool blue-based pink. That was really pretty. It was all matte. I did enjoy pulling that in when I was doing cool tone looks. I also had a mini size of Becca Flower Child, which I really forgot how much I liked this blush. Like, this might be my favorite blush from this month. It is more of a peachy pink blush. It is a little bit lighter than Blind Date there, and I just think it's absolutely stunning. It has a really pretty soft satiny glow to it. I also had this in there. This is Mellow Wine. This is one you guys had recommended that I didn't have from Wet n Wild. This is stunning. Like, I can totally see why you guys like this. This is definitely more of a warm rose shade, so really beautiful color there. And then I had this NYX Away We Glow. They call this an illuminating powder. This, in my mind, is just a glowy blush. This one is really sort of a nice, really light peachy orange color, and I thought that was really pretty. I did enjoy this look. Every time I did warmer eye looks, I tended to reach for this. And then my last quote-unquote blush is actually from Bobbi Brown. I think this was listed as a bronzing powder, but it was the shade Telluride, and after I did my bronzer declutter, I realized that I would probably enjoy this more as sort of a nude blush, and I did. So this was sort of my nude colored blush for the month, and I really enjoyed all of these shades quite a bit. So all in all, a very successful month for a blush collection. Okay, so these are the three highlighters I had. This is the standout to me. I bought this, I loved it, and then I forgot how amazing this is. So this is Stila Kitten. This is their Heaven's Hue highlighter. This has a sort of subtle creaminess to it when you touch it. It's not a pure powder highlighter, but you definitely use it like a powder. You don't have to worry about this being like a cream highlighter. What's amazing about this one is it's almost like a gloss. Like, it just makes your skin look wet, and it sets down, and it's absolutely stunning, but it doesn't have a ton of actual color to it. My cameras have been having a hard time focusing on it. It's so blinding. It doesn't have a ton of color to it. I feel like it just comes off like a gloss. It makes your skin look phenomenal. Like, my goodness, guys, like, this is way moving up my list of maybe favorite highlighters in my collection. I really had to force myself to use these other two because once I pulled this in, I just didn't even want to use anything else. So yeah, stunning. And because it's got this sort of cream to powder texture, I will also say it lasts all day. So it feels a little creamy, and then once it sets down, it's on my skin and it doesn't budge. So love that. This is Makeup Geek Glitz highlighter. This is one that looks very pink in the pan, but it's definitely one of those more silvery white highlighters. It's a very pretty highlight, but it's definitely more of a traditional powder highlight. It's not bad. It doesn't emphasize texture. I feel like it's a beautiful formula, but it just doesn't have that gloss the way that the Stila one does. But as far as what I would consider to be a traditional powder highlighter that just looks really beautiful on the skin, this is stunning. Probably my least favorite, although it's still not bad, is from Pop Beauty. This is Celestial Light. I had accidentally ordered one shade up from this, so the next shade darker, on accident the first time I ordered off their website, and I actually liked the formula of that one a little bit better. This one has some more micro shimmer running through it that I definitely think is a little bit more apparent. Showing micro shimmer on camera is almost always impossible. So it has a high shine, almost more metallic finish to it. So I do feel like this is one that is going to emphasize texture a heck of a lot more than these other two. It's beautiful, but it's probably just not my favorite formula out there. And then the back here, I had a couple setting powders. This is the Flower Beauty Satin Finishing Powder. I actually use this to, not as a finishing powder, as in dust it at the end of my makeup application. I use this to actually set my makeup. And I think it's beautiful. It's a satin, it's not overly glittery, it's got no chunky particles in it. It gives a subtle glow, but it's not super intense. So I did really enjoy this. I just don't care for this big, giant, bulky packaging. And then the only thing that's keeping the powder in place when it moves around is the sponge. There's nothing underneath. So it can get a little messy, and obviously it's a little bulky. But it is actually a really beautiful powder. If you feel like powders make you look too matte, this is lovely. And then this is from e.l.f. This is their Soft Luminance Powder. This one is a little bit more glowy, I would say. It almost borders on highlighter. It's very, 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 very finely milled. Like, you can see that there. It's just, it's got that texture, almost like a silica type powder. And it's very, very pretty, but I definitely feel like I'm getting more micro shimmer particles inside of this one. It does a beautiful job of setting my makeup, but if I have to be honest, I think I prefer the flower one just a smidge more. And then one product that never leaves, my Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder. I use this more days than not to set under my eyes, sometimes my face, but mostly just under my eyes. This just stays in the back. All right, so here are my eye products and lip products. So let's talk about the singles that I had in here. So this is the NYX Lid Lingerie in the shade 05 Night Glow. It's a really pretty taupe, and this is just one of those ones that's not super metallic, but it's more of a satin feel to it, and it buffs out really, really easily around the edges. So it's very easy to take a brush or even your finger and kind of buff out the edges and kind of ombre it out. So this is a perfect example, in my opinion, of a one and done cream shadow. It lasts all day. I don't feel like anybody ever talks about these. They don't have this high shine finish the way that some other liquid eyeshadows do. But I think it's a really beautiful color, and I was reaching for this several days when I just wanted a very simple, easy, sort of just everyday makeup look. Wasn't going anywhere. I would just throw this on and call it a day. I do love these sort of taupey colors all over my eyes. I think it's really pretty. So this was a success in my opinion. The other liquid shadow I had in here was from Stila. This is the shade Bohème. This one is more of a purpley color, and this one does have a little bit more of a metallic finish. Hopefully I can show you guys the difference here on camera. So you can see the shade Bohème picks up a lot more shine and light. It's not just that it's a little bit of a lighter color, it's just a lot more reflective than the NYX one. So I feel like the NYX one would be really easy and appropriate for offices and more casual looks, whereas Bohème is more of a statement shade, and it's one, it does look beautiful on its own all over the lid, but I do find I tend to like to put in some matte colors and then just use this as my sort of statement lid shade. But beautiful formula from Stila. I mean, absolutely stunning, fully opaque, blends out, lasts, phenomenal. And this is their shimmer and glow versus their glitter and glow. And then I had some sort of pressed and loose pigments in here. So this is from Giorgio Armani. This is Eyes to Kill number 4. I feel like when I looked this up to link it, it is discontinued, which I'm sorry guys, because like this color is so cool. It's like purple with maroon flecks and specks in it, and it's a really, really cool color. It's definitely more cool leaning. It's got a really interesting sort of cool shift to it. I think it's a really beautiful shade. So probably a little expensive for what it is. This was a splurge when I was traveling and we had a layover for like 4 hours at an airport, I think in Detroit, for an international flight, and ended up shopping at the duty-free zone. So anyway, beautiful shade. Did enjoy playing with that one. This is another pressed sort of pigment creamy shadow. This is from e.l.f. This is the shade Toast. Super lustrous eyeshadow. These tend to have some glitter particles in them. And this is just a pure gold shade. It is really, really pretty. I do feel like mine is starting to dry out just a smidge, but I was still able to get it to work. So this is a really great formula from e.l.f. and I also don't feel like enough people talk about this formula. And then the two loose pigments I had in here, one is from Makeup Geek. This is the shade Gargoyle. Gargoyle is another sort of taupey shade, but it is so intense. Let's see if I can get some on my finger here. Really high shine metallic taupe. There you're starting to see some of the shifts in colors here. But I love Gargoyle. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Love these taupey shades. Feel like I'm a broken record as it relates to that all over my lid. And then the last loose pigment I pulled in is Makeup Forever. I think this is 13. Yes, Starlit Powder number 13. This is just a super bright white, almost champagne. If you want an inner corner highlight that is absolutely blinding, or an all over lid shade that is so just makes your eyes really bright and wide and awake, this one is absolutely gorgeous. It is a finely milled powder, but it packs a wallop, and then if you wet this, holy cow. So let's talk about eyeshadow palettes. This is the Studio Makeup On The Go palette in the shade Cool Down. It is a beautiful cool toned palette. I got this in BoxyCharm. I love that we've got a perfect taupe and a plummy and a sort of a charcoal deepening shade. You've got an all over lid shade, and then you've got some two really pretty soft satin shades here at the top. One that's very light and white, one that's a little bit more gold toned, and then this sort of purpley shifty shade that has a micro glitter in it is just blindingly beautiful. So love those lighter shades. And then this is a really pretty deep plum color. This is just a really nice mauvey cool toned palette. I really enjoy this. I played around with it when I first got it and thought, oh yay, this is so much fun, and then kind of just got lost in my collection. So I have really enjoyed playing with that this month. Let's tackle Soft Glam. If you guys recall from last month, I put this in here because I bought it and then just didn't fall in love with it the way that everyone else did out of the gate, and kind of everyone said this is their favorite go-to neutral palette. And the challenge I've had personally with this one is the fact that we have so many gold lid shades. So I feel like they're different undertones. I'm not trying to tell you that they're not the same, or that they are the same rather. But for me personally, I don't love this gold shade here. I just don't think it looks that flattering on me. The deeper gold is beautiful and this more peachy gold is beautiful, but this more yellowy gold just doesn't look the best on me. And I feel like 3 golds in this palette, I still feel like this, it's too much. I have really enjoyed the more rosy toned shades in here. I do love the very warm toned, all matte looks that I can go with in here. But ultimately, I feel like I'm going to reach for this palette when I want a warm rosy eye, or I want a warm matte eye. But I don't see this ever becoming my go-to palette, favorite Anastasia palette, the way that it has for a lot of people. So I enjoy it. I don't feel like I want to declutter it. I feel like I've gotten to know it a lot better this month. I don't feel like my feelings have necessarily changed about it. I just feel like I have a better idea of more looks that I can make with this palette that I like. So that's Soft Glam. This has to be my favorite palette from the month. So this is the Sahara palette from Face Candy. This, I believe, is duping a Kylie palette. I think one of you guys told me. I don't pay a lot of attention to her, so I can't comment, but oh my gosh, I love this palette. I love everything I can do with this palette. So let's talk through some of the reasons that I like this. So I feel like you can go a little bit more purpley cool toned. So you've got this shade called Sand Viper, and you've got this purpley shade here. I'm gonna swatch this on my wrist because I feel like I'm gonna end up swatching a ton of these. So you've got shades that are a little bit more pinky and purpley here, so you can go a little bit more cool toned. And then you've got some really interesting deepening shades here. So Gazelle and Hot Spell are a little bit more of that plummy and sort of reddish earth colors there. So those are absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna zoom you in here. Yeah, so those are absolutely beautiful shades there. And then if you wanna go really warm, you have such great options to do that, because you've got this shade called Acacia and a shade called Sunburn that are like the most perfect mustard and bright sort of poppy orange color ever. This shade is absolutely stunning on its own. One of my favorite looks I did this month was to just kind of use this as my transition and make a halo eye, and then put this shade Mirage right as my middle shade, and it is a white with a crazy gold shift to it. I mean, you also have some shades that are great for blending out the creases. So you've got Desert Lily, which is a pink. You've got this very neutral brown shade called Dunes, great for going and blending out even warm or cool looks. That pink can be a lot of fun and brightening. And then you've got the shade Sandstorm, which is like a classic sort of cream color here. The star of the show has to be this duochrome here though, the shade Shade. I feel like I wore this, I can't even tell you how many times. It is this burgundy, blue, purple, shifting craziness. Like, this is one of the most beautiful multi-dimensional shadows I have ever used in my life. I think I recreated looks using that shade. I 3 times, 4 times. I finally had to stop. And then the shade Oasis down here is equally beautiful. This like stunning rose gold shade. Like, I love rose gold shades, and that one is absolutely gorgeous. And then you have a more soft, more deeper burgundy shade, which is a satin, and it works to kind of deepen either one of those colors up if you wanted to kind of ombre from the middle out to your outer corner. So I think the color combinations I can do with this are absolutely beautiful. If you've been thinking about trying a palette from the Shop Hush website, download the app. Shipping is free when you do the order from them. You don't have any sort of minimum purchase. I want to say this palette on there is like 10 bucks, maybe $8, something like that. It's very reasonably priced. Quality is phenomenal. Amazing palette. And then also from the Shop Hush website, we had the Bad Habit Supernova palette. This one is duping the Natasha Denona Layla palette. I like this. I do feel like what I'm missing is some shades that go a little bit lighter from a matte perspective, because I really have to use Lunar and Zenith in a very light hand, or mix it with some actual face powder to kind of get it to be a light enough transition for me, because these are actually fairly dark shades, and they're actually fairly similar shades as well. Maybe slightly plummier, pinker, and slightly more cool toned, but very similar shades. Where this palette really starts to shine for me are the 2 duochromes that are in here. Spirit and Aurora are absolutely gorgeous shades. One is purple, and guys, I would probably buy this palette again just for this purple shade. I did a look with it. I will link it down below, and you guys were all asking me what the heck was on my eyes. And then this is a reddish shifting teal color. I love duochromes in general, but these 2 duochromes are absolutely beautiful. I did make some absolutely beautiful looks in here. The quality of these shadows are great. Even purple, which can be kind of tricky to do, that's got an absolutely beautiful purple color to it. In general, I'm just really impressed with the quality of these shades. I think they are really amazing, and for the price for both the Face Candy and the Bad Habit brand palettes on Shop Hush, they're gorgeous. I do feel like I am now glad that I didn't buy this as a full palette when it came out, because I felt like I enjoy these shades, but I don't know as if I am as inspired and gaga for the entire palette as I thought I would be when I first saw the Lila palette come out. So I'm actually glad I held off and kind of got this version instead. Quality's great on this one, but once again, this was the star of the show this month. All right guys, so last up we have the lip products that I had in here. So let's start with the bulleted lipsticks at the front. I had Root Beer Float from NYX. This is one of their butter lipsticks, super creamy, really comfortable. This is actually a dupe for Marc Jacobs Slow Burn. It's just a little bit lighter weight and a little creamier, slightly less pigmented I would say, but definitely buildable. Beautiful shade, loved playing with this one. Also the shade Little League from ColourPop in here. This is a matte formula from them. I wore it fully opaque on my lips like this, but then there was also a few days where I was just like picking up a little bit on my finger and kind of using it like a stain on my lips and using it very thin and kind of blending it out. So it was kind of like a your lips but better kind of thing, and then putting a gloss over the top of it, or sometimes just leaving it for the sort of that popsicle lip. So I use this a couple different ways, and I have to say I don't think this matte formula is my favorite. It's a little drying, but I did really enjoy the shade. This is Snow White Red from Besame. I did wear this once and just kind of played around with a bright red classic lip. I just got done posting and talking about all of my red lipsticks, and I feel like at some point, probably not this next month, but maybe through the holidays, I will do like a full week of nothing but red lips, because I feel like red is just one of those very polished, beautiful lip looks. I pulled in this L'Oreal Color Reshine lipstick in Lacquered Strawberry. It was kind of a hot pink color, but more sheer toned. That was really pretty. I played with that a few times. I had this shade Autumn Rose from the Petal Pout Flower lipsticks. This is just a classic mauve pink that is beautiful. This is part of their matte line. I love this matte formula so much better than the ColourPop one too, I have to say. And then this is Airy Fairy from Rimmel. This is a pink that has a little bit of a gold silvery shift to it. It's not metallic, but it definitely has a little bit of a shine to it, and it's just a beautiful nude. I used to keep that color in my purse all the time. So I did really enjoy the lipsticks I had, and I was able to use all of those. Actually, I think I made a pretty good dent on most of these lipsticks as far as using them at least once. And sometimes I'll put on a lipstick in the morning and then come back in the afternoon and put something else on. When I work from home, I have that luxury. So let's talk about some glossier products I had in here. So this is the Milani Amore Shine lip color in Charming. This one is kind of a lip lacquer. It's fully opaque, but it's not sticky. So this is a gorgeous lacquer formula from the drugstore. Really enjoyed this. Kind of a perfect nude for me. So this got used several times. Somehow I ended up with both of these M Cosmetics ones in here. How did I do that? I can't remember which one we pulled. Well, we're going to swatch both of them because they both got worn because I pulled them both out of my purse. So all right then, so these are her Infinite Lip Cloud formulas. It's actually a matte formula, so I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. This is the shade Muted Mauve, so this is a little bit deeper and pinkier. Beautiful mauve color. And then this is the shade Rose Nude, so more of her pinky nude color. It's definitely got some more brown undertones to it. I did wear both of these. I don't think I pulled both of these, but somehow they both ended up in my drawer, so there you go. This is from Hard Candy. This is their plumping serum. This is the shade 1403 Ooh La La. And this is just a really lightweight sheer gloss that's really comfy. I wore this several days where my lips were just feeling dry and I didn't feel like putting on a lip product, but wanted something on my lips. So enjoyed that. And then I also pulled this from Hard Candy. This is their Cashmere Silk Demi Matte Lip Lacquer in the shade Macaron, or Macaroon, however you say that. This is a really interesting formula. It reminds me a ton of the NARS Velvet Lip Glides. It has a pretty strong slip to it when it first goes on your lips. It's not fully opaque. It's kind of like a medium gloss sort of texture, but it does set down a little bit more demi-matte the longer you wear it. This is a really cool formula. I think the packaging is really pretty and luxe too. Reminds me of the old Hourglass lip glosses that used to be out. Maybe they're still out. And then this is actually a lipstick that's very hydrating. This is from Hera. This is a Korean brand. It's like their version of Dior. It's got this really interesting sort of stripe at the top, but it really is just sort of a light, balmy pink color. Very easy to wear. Wore this a few times as well. And then the last four lip products back here, this is a Bite Matte Lip Crayon in the shade Amaretto. And this is a very warm brownie nude. definitely went well when I was pairing more warm looks from the Sahara palette, so enjoyed that. This is from CYO Lipstick and Liner, Too Clever by Half in the shade Rainmaker. It has a lipstick on one end and a pencil on the other. So the pencil is a little bit deeper than the lipstick, so they actually work really well together, and the lipstick is really shiny and balmy and comfortable. So if you've been looking for kind of an all-in-one formula where you have a more balmy lipstick, kind of comparable to the formula coming out of these Color Shines, but you want a lip liner that you can either pair underneath it or just to line your lips with, I highly recommend this. Rainmaker is gorgeous. They don't have a lot of colors in this line, and this is exclusive to Walgreens if you're trying to track it down. I have never seen it in a Walgreens store, but usually you can find it on their website. This is from Nude Sticks. This is their Intense Matte Lip and Cheek Pencil in Purity. This is a really pretty sort of murky rose shade. I did wear that a couple times. One that I didn't get to though is this NYX Slip Tease. This is in the shade Storm? No, Fire Dancer. This is a really beautiful red shade. And now that I see that, I feel like that really dark, deep red would be really pretty for fall looks. So I think I'm gonna leave this one in my drawer for this next month and just make a point to do a look that requires a really pretty dark red. Okay guys, so my drawer is pretty much empty. I'm going to put all of this away and then I will reset here and start to film my shop for this next month. That will be the next video. If it's up, I will link it down below, but look for that one for me soon. I hope you guys enjoy the sort of review process for the things that I used this last month, and I look forward to talking to you soon in the comments. Bye.